I'm one of the shorter Guptas. I take after my dad's mom, my grandmother. So hopefully everybody can see me. I'd like to reflect back on my years here at UNR, going to Orvis School of Nursing, and one person I remember is my first clinical instructor, Deborah Davis. She taught me a lot and helped me to learn how to deal with situations like this. She said, in times like this, to think of one thing positive that you can take from the experience. She said it might be hard, but it'll make it a little bit easier. And she said, said that in 10 years, you'll really, it'll make a difference for you. So I get the privilege of introducing Ed Keppelman. My dad introduced me to him as I came here to UNR to be a student. I had a project that I needed to do and had a dilemma. I don't know anybody in Reno. How do I get this project done? So he introduced me to Ed Keppelman, one of his colleagues, a great mathematician who has an awesome family that supports him. My dad and Ed, I believe, have a lot in common working here. They're both chairmen here at the math department and have accomplished a lot. So I'd like to introduce to you Ed Keppelman.
Thank you, Kavita. Okay. It was late in the spring of 1993, and I was just finishing a 2-year postdoctoral appointment at Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. While away one evening giving a review for a class I was teaching, my wife, Jackie, took a call from a Dr. Chetan Gupta, who wished to invite me to the University of Nevada, Reno to interview for a tenure-track assistant professor position. Chetan had joined the faculty there 1 year earlier when the department had just made an outside hire for department chair. It was a difficult time for mathematicians in employment. Only about half of the 25 who graduated with me from the University of Wisconsin-Madison were getting jobs in academia. So I was thrilled, of course, with the opportunity and immediately fell in love with Nevada, once I got used to the desert, of course. As I recall, I came to Reno on a Friday when both the Jazz Festival was being held and the Reynolds School of Journalism building was being dedicated. Because of this, I had to stay in the old Miners Inn on North Virginia Street. I checked today, and that's now a Super 8, by the way. It was an exciting time as Chetan shared with me his vision of what the UNR math department might become. I remember fondly how he and Sarita both entertained me that entire weekend. Right from the start, it was clear that he absolutely loved his new role, and he did that work with so much energy, honesty, humility, and dedication. By carefully articulating to the administration that a 2-course per semester teaching load for research faculty was the only way to build a productive department, he truly changed the climate and in a serious way contributed to all that we have accomplished since then. When my 2 boys were small, Chetan's daughter Kavita spent a lot of time babysitting them. This is a bond with the Gupta family that we hold precious. After my initial interview, it was quite a long time before I heard from Chetan again. It turns out that among the 3 candidates interviewed then, I was the department's 3rd choice. However, I did ultimately hear from Chetan, and unlike anything I have ever seen since, when he called me up and said they were considering for the job, I said yes, right then and there. I didn't negotiate or do anything like that. I'm not bragging about the fact that I didn't negotiate or didn't figure out what was happening. I'm just saying that Chetan's vision of the future was so exciting to me and so engaging that I just wanted to be here very, very much. With all the work he has done as a research mathematician, it is absolutely amazing and inspiring to me how much he gave back to his colleagues, the department, the profession, the university, the K-12 teachers of Nevada, and the nation. In all those years with us, there were times, of course, when some would disagree with his vision and his actions. Our department in those days was so democratic that long-term visions and plans were very difficult for an outsider to articulate and implement. However, I have to say that I have never known anyone with more integrity and optimism for our future, and I am absolutely convinced that if someone believed otherwise, then they simply just did not understand what he saw was possible, and not just for himself, but for everyone. I remember many times being with him in faculty meetings, both department meetings and other meetings. His ability to get things done and get others and motivate them to get things done was nothing short of fantastic. I was honored when Chayton began to slow down a little, and Dr. Taruni Lamberg, who's here today, from the UNR College of Education, asked me to essentially replace Chayton in working with her on some education grants and teaching opportunities. Filling Chayton's shoes in this respect is something I am far from succeeding at, but his example in this regard will always keep me trying. An NSF-funded grant, which Chayton and Taruni received to work with teachers in rural eastern Nevada, is to this day still considered a model for university school partnerships. In fact, a technique now coined the Gupta-Lamberg method of illustrating the division of fractions have helped many teachers and students. In fact, I am planning to use this myself next week when working with many teachers. Taruni and I were both so impressed by Chayton's patience with his teachers, his humility, and his huge dedication to figuring out just how to reach them with some amazingly sophisticated mathematics. I remember having the pleasure of helping Chayton put together his application for Foundation Professor. It was at this time that I had the opportunity to analyze the years he spent working for the U.S. Department of Defense. His love for the USA was extremely inspiring, and I can only imagine what powerful mathematical techniques he brought to bear in his work on missile count verifications with the Soviets. His love for his colleagues in UNR surfaced again when, near the end of my time as department chair, he came to me with his vision to run the Math Center. That appointment happened at a time when Chayton could have just as well retired and gone on to be with his family and grandchildren. However, he saw a need and he hurried in to make a difference. Even after Chayton retired, he was generally not in Reno very often. He would often call me and just want to talk. Those phone calls always left me with a new and exceedingly happy perspective on what was going on, either at UNR or elsewhere in the world, and the mathematics profession. He always gave me a great feeling about what I was doing and that the future for me was bright and filled with many opportunities for satisfying successes. I cannot ever tell him what a mentor he was to me, both as a young faculty member, later as a department chair, and finally as a former chair and colleague. I will greatly miss those phone calls and chances to catch up and reorient my life's expectations. Thank you.